Did it stop again?
Okay, let's go. Go ahead.
Okay. So what to eat, I think, is what we kind of decided. And so these are recommendations for after treatment, especially around what cancer survivors and the current evidence is for cancer survivors and eating. And so we're going to go through that, but I'm happy for you to jump in with any questions at any time. And if it's something I'm going to get to, you can unmute if you want to. If you don't want to be on the recording and you want to put a question in the chat, I'll try to keep an eye on that and answer your questions as they come if it makes sense. Okay, so we already talked about me. These are actually the things we're going to talk about. The 3 things to know about nutrition and health, what nutrients are important for good health, and daily habits to optimize your health after treatment. I use the word survivor to basically refer to anybody after a diagnosis, whether you're in treatment, after treatment, on some kind of maintenance therapy forever, whatever it is. If you are able to eat, then of course, most people want to optimize their nutrition intake. And we work with all different types of challenges. As oncology dietitians, that's our specialty, is to take the challenge that you've got and help you figure out how to meet your nutritional needs with those challenges. So some people have swallowing issues, some people have digestive issues, and some people it's like no problem eating. They just kind of need to know what to eat. So we can cover all of those things. And we're going to start with the 3 things to know about nutrition and health. So there is, number one, this is what I say, the number one most important thing to know is that there's no food or nutrient that can cure disease or cause disease. So there's nothing that you can eat that causes cancer. There's nothing that you eat that cures cancer or that you could eat. When it comes to nutrition and health and having a healthy diet, it really is the pattern of foods that you're eating, or like, what do you eat most of? It's a combination of foods that has an impact on your health. So where you might have heard, oh, this causes cancer or that causes cancer, typically it's not that one food. It's that food or food item that's eaten maybe more frequently than is recommended. So the number one myth is that sugar feeds cancer. That's not true. The truth is that carbohydrates do provide energy for all the cells of our body. And yes, they do provide energy for cancer cells as well, because they are other cells, but it's not just that if you eat sugar, then all of a sudden your body is going to grow cancer. It doesn't work that way. So I don't like the term that sugar is toxic, or that somehow it has some kind of, power over your body. It is perfectly fine to eat sugar in moderation, but what's more important is focusing on the things that you do eat rather than finding a list of things that you shouldn't eat. So we know the right combination of foods in a mostly plant-based diet plays an important role in maintaining healthy cells. That's kind of the key, is that this pattern of eating is what's important, not so much any individual foods or nutrients that you do or don't eat. So number 2 keys in on that we need you to eat lots of phytochemicals, which are plant nutrients. So if you don't like the word chemical, because sometimes we get a little like queasy with the word chemical, but chemical is just, a word for a chemical structure. So water is a chemical, H2O. Phytochemicals just mean plant nutrients. So we need your body to get lots of plant nutrients because that's how it's designed to work. We get these plant nutrients from the foods that we eat, and evidence continues to show that minerals, vitamins, and phytochemicals found in plant foods interact to provide extra cancer protection. So it is better for you to get these nutrients from foods whenever possible, and it's best to get them in combination with other nutrients as opposed to consuming just one nutrient and a whole lot of it at a time. And that's why we often say that, I think number 3, that's right. So let me cover this first before we get to number 3, which is filling up your phytochemical meter as much as possible each day. So when you think about eating a plant-based diet, that means eating lots of plants And that means getting plenty of phytochemicals in your day. So you wake up in the morning, your phytonutrient meter is basically at 0. Anytime you eat a fruit or a vegetable or another plant food, whole grains, beans, nuts, and seeds, they all help to build your phytochemical meter up so that by the end of the day, your body is full of these phytonutrients that help you function well. That is how we're designed. And we cannot get these phytonutrients from anywhere but plants. So you get them from plant foods. The less processed they are, the more phytonutrients they will have in them. A lot of processing tends to remove components of the plants that are good for you. And then if you get a variety of colors, that gives you a variety of phytonutrients. So when we say eat the rainbow, we don't mean, the Skittles rainbow, but we mean eating lots of different colorful plants, because that will in itself give you lots of different types of phytonutrients. So it doesn't have to be complicated. Of course, we can make it as complicated as you want. You can go off and get a whole degree, right? But you don't need to have a degree in nutrition to know how to eat. It should be relatively basic, and providing your body with the nutrients it needs to function is kind of what we're going for. Oh, so in these meters though, I will say, the typical American, when it comes to fruit and vegetable intake, this is kind of what they consume, between 1 and maybe 2 fruits and vegetables a day, when the recommendation is more like 4 to 5 cups of fruits and vegetables. So it really, when we hear about like, oh, Americans have such an unhealthy diet, a lot of it is because they just don't consume the foods and the nutrients that help their bodies function. Because it's difficult for them, or it's not what tastes good to them, or whatever. But if we could increase people's fruit and vegetable intake, their phytonutrient meter would boost up a lot more. Okay, so your body prefers nutrients in food, not pills, because of all those great, combinations of nutrients that you get when you eat the food, versus if you take pill or powder or juice form, you tend to only get one type of nutrient in that pill. I say that nutrition supplements or powdered nutrition is about the most processed food you can get, because essentially they're stripping off all the different parts of the plant and just giving you a whole lot of one component. What we want you to get is, a banana in its complete form, or carrots in their complete form, or broccoli in their complete form. Whoops. Okay, so nutrients, they just work much better together. And that's why we're going for food version. And we also know that, of course, when you're eating lots of plant foods, they come with fiber as well. And typically when you have foods that are real processed, they remove the fiber. If you're taking pills, powders, or supplements, you're also not getting that fiber intake that for most of us is really necessary for good gut health. So I will say an exception, of course, because there's always exceptions to the rules, So this is the case when somebody might need to use a nutrition supplement. The purpose of nutritional supplements is if you have levels that are low, it's difficult to bring your nutrient levels back up to normal with food intake. So let's say, vitamin D or iron or potassium are low. It could be because of medication you're taking. It could be because you have some thing going on in your body that makes it difficult for you to absorb these nutrients. Whatever the reason is, you have a low level usually detected by a blood test. If your blood levels are low in any particular nutrient, you will likely need a nutritional supplement to bring that back up to normal range. So that's when we wanted to use the nutrition supplements. Again, this would be because you've, had a test that showed, and then you would take a nutrition supplement for 3 months or 6 months or whatever, and you would recheck and see if it's helping. And the other time that you might use a nutrition supplement is if your doctor says, hey, you are at high risk for bone loss. We're going to need you to take a calcium supplement and focus on bone health, right? So usually there is kind of a key reason that you would be taking it, and you might be taking it for a short period of time or a longer period of time. What we don't want is for you to just buy a whole bunch of bottles of things thinking, oh, well, this will help me. Because there are plenty of studies showing that people who consume food or consume nutrients in pill form do not get the same benefit as consuming those nutrients in food form, and in some cases it's harmful. So we want you to only take nutrition supplements when it's necessary, and otherwise the evidence-based recommendations are to get your nutrients from food as much as possible. So I consider it your opportunity. I mean, when you sit down to eat or drink something, that's your opportunity to essentially provide your body with the nutrients that it needs to function at its best. There's no other way that you can get those nutrients except through the foods that you eat or the beverages that you drink. All right, so the key, essentially the key tools, the nutrients that you need are calories. Calories are a unit of energy. So I know in our sort of diet focused culture, we have maybe calories are a bad word to a lot of people, but I want to encourage you to think of calories simply as energy. They are a unit of energy. We don't want low energy foods, and we don't want low energy. We want to eat the right amount of calories to provide our body with the energy that it needs. So sometimes I do find that people who are following particularly restrictive eating plans are actually not giving their body enough calories, and that in itself is not going to help you feel well. So we want you to eat enough calories to support the lifestyle that you have. You need to get lots of phytochemicals. You need to get fiber for good gut health. You want vitamins and minerals, and hydration, always important. So those are kind of the key things that we want to make sure you're getting when you choose your food. And then you can get those. There are some pretty good guidelines around what your food intake pattern should be, especially when it comes to cancer survivorship. So I'm going to talk some about those and then see what kinds of questions you have. So as a reminder, we're not looking at any individual foods because you can get good nutrition from all kinds of different foods. I think it's a little silly to think that, oh, everybody in the whole world would have to eat the same exact way in order to be adequately nourished or to have a good, healthy diet, which is kind of ridiculous because people live in all different types of environments. You are going to eat generally what is available to you because that's what can grow in your area or that you can get access to. We all have different family cultures. We have different taste buds, and there's no reason that any person has to follow one particular type of diet. However, all the different types of healthy diets will